Mr. Olajide Algo. Mr. Olajide Algo is one of our in-house facilitators. We introduced him on the platform earlier. Mr. Dide, we are so happy to have you with us. In fact, he was the first person to join this session today. And that's an indictment on the house. You know, I recommend, please, as a way of showing our enthusiasm and commitment, that we try to register maybe some minutes before the session so that we could be here exactly by 4 o'clock. Mr. Jide, thank you so much for joining us. We are glad that you are with us, and we look forward to, you know, benefiting from your wealth of experience even as we have today's session. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Now, it might help for me to add that Mr. Jide is a massive employer of labor. At least I'm sure he has up to 50 to 100 persons under him. I'm not sure about the exact number. So, Mr. Jide, please feel free, as we discuss today's session, to interject and share insights that would help our participants to, you know, get the best from today's session. We want to make it as conversational as possible. Please, for everyone, please feel free as well to stop me midway, ask questions, so that we could ensure that we all get the best from today's session. Now, today we'll be discussing introduction to competitiveness. We'll be going to the subject of competitiveness. I don't know how well you can hear me. Am I being very audible or not? Please, can you give me some feedback, Deborah, before I continue?
You are very, very audible from my side.
Okay. Yes, sir, you're very audible, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. So, on the subject of competitiveness, I'd like to start by asking, how many of us are aware of this? How many of us are used to this terminology? How many of us have had to, you know, employ competitiveness discipline in our workplace? I'd like to ask the house, not those that. I'd like to ask those who are with Octavio, if you could skip this particular question. Also ask the rest of the participants if you are used to the terminology competitiveness. Please feel free to answer. Anybody? Sandra? Are you used to this term, competitiveness? Gladys? Have you heard of this? Grace?
Good evening, it's Gladys. I have read, but in my sector, non-profit, we don't use competitiveness most of the time. We use collaboration.
Oh, I see. In fact, I'm going to show. Remind me to make this lecture to reflect your sector. I mean, when you say not for profit, what do you do exactly, Gladys?
Yeah, childcare, livelihood support, women development, gender, mainstreaming gender, generally, and peace initiative.
Okay. Yeah. Because of the session, you'll see how this applies to your organization as well. Anybody, thank you, Gladys. Anybody else that has had or not had any experience with this term, competitiveness? Grace, Namdi, Richard. What of Royal Knights? Who's Royal Knights? Can you please give us some feedback? Mr. Stephen, have you heard of this term, competitiveness, or have you been conversant? Okay, go ahead, Stephen, please.
Okay. Yes, I've heard about that word called competitiveness. Okay. The business would have a usual term that we call you lose, I win. Okay. I win, you lose. So it's like a two-sided coin, the winning side and the losing side. So we can define competitiveness to mean winning and losing in the business world. So, and there's another term that says that if you cannot compete, you die in the business market.
Okay. So you have heard that term within the terms of business, being competitive within that space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And anybody else? I just want to get a feel of our knowledge of this particular terminology, because your perception of today's session might be influenced by that prior knowledge. Anybody else?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead, please, sir.
Okay. Competitiveness, as to mean in the larger terms, means that, like brother Stevens has just said, if you cannot compete, you die. You, as in business time, because others are there to take away your portion. So you have to fight for your portion. With that competitiveness, it will give you an edge over your opponent. Innovation will come in, and how to outwit, and how to, if you are even in the same product, in the same line, how to make it better, cheaper, more essential than the others. That is to me, the competitiveness in the business that is very, very essential, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Royal Knight, what's your name, so that you can rename your name to your real name, not Royal Knight.
Okay, I will do that. I can do that, sir. My name is Lekonla.
Okay, you're welcome, Mr. Lekon. So today, as we discuss competitiveness, you're all right, or I'd like to rephrase it in a way that might make more sense for what we're discussing today. It's about being able to compete. Being able to compete. Now, somebody can be in the market, but you're not even on the table, right? In other words, your product is not competitive. Let's say a wristwatch now, for example. Folks want to buy a wristwatch, and what you have is not up to the market standard. So even though you are in the market, you are not competitive. So does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
We still get to who is winning the war or not winning the war. But for now, just think of it as being able to compete. Let it be that if of all the options are available, if they have 20 options available, that yours should be among the top 5 or top 6 that one could say, okay, this is something I should consider buying, a service or a product. So competitiveness from that perspective of being able to compete, not necessarily about who is winning the war or who is losing the war, but just a capacity, an inherent capacity of at least being worthy of consideration. Let that be our overarching definition for now, until we flesh out the conversation. Then you can now define it better as you would want to. Now, I'm going to do a brief review of some of the sessions that we had last 2 weeks. I will not spend time, just to show you 1 or 2 things, and then I will discuss essentials of knowledge work. I'll discuss firm competitiveness, and then we can get on to industry level competitiveness if we can achieve that today. If not, we can start at number 3 for today. Now, in our curriculum, we're supposed to have market assessment and industrial assessment today, and then we'll have competitiveness tomorrow. But we have swapped that, so we're going to have this one today, and then we'll have market assessment and industrial assessment tomorrow. Now, our last 2 weeks, Mr. Max taught us about sub-proprietorship, partnership, private companies, public companies, competent trustees, community by guarantees as different structures that a firm could take. Now, these are legally bound structures. They are not individual opinions. These are structures determined by law. They are like garments that a firm could wear to participate in the market space, right? Now, the key thing I would like you to remember, among other things, is that these structures are the creations of men. The law did not come down from heaven. It is human beings that made these laws and regulations. One thing, remember that. Now, if human beings made them, human beings can also change them. So when you think about these business laws, think about them from the perspective that these are, convenient, mutually agreed principles of operation. They are not divine. Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they are not divine. I
Hi,
said that
sir.
for a purpose. Yeah, because I said that for a purpose because as a business leader, you should know that some of the regulations, some of the frameworks for business dealings can be modified to fit what you want to achieve. So, for example, before now we didn't have partnerships such that an individual would have. I don't remember now. We didn't have limited liability partnership functional in Nigeria. We had it only in Lagos at the time, where you had other partners having limited liability and only general partner not having limited liability. We didn't have that until last year when 2020 KAMA came into place. So men and women canvassed. Wow, who is disturbing us? Men and women canvassed for us to have this new structure, and today we have it and we're enjoying it. My point, the fact that the regulation that you are desiring does not exist does not mean that it cannot exist. They are creations of men, they can be modified. We also discussed the Delaware flip, and Pastor Miles explained that in detail, that firms seeking to get certain advantages went to certain countries to get those advantages backed by law. So laws are made by men. They are made for a purpose. They have the authority of governments. They are the vehicles by which the value and the money goes around. Now, I don't know if any of you have heard of the recent, that was like a year ago, when we heard of some of the big businessmen in Nigeria that had overseas accounts that were, sort of hidden in some offshore vehicles. Did any of us follow that story?
Yes, sir. Panama Papers.
I didn't, sir.
Exact Panama Papers. Now, individuals went to Panama to get some certain tax benefits, some certain benefits from, structuring their business in a particular way. Legal, well, not so legal, depending on the jurisdiction that those individuals were living in. Some, in many cases, very much legal. So knowing that, having that perspective will also help you, because sometimes structuring firms or structuring a company to have certain peculiar features in itself would be massive value. Do you understand? Sometimes the way you design a firm, the features that firm could have or not have will make or mar that business. So business structuring in itself is an art that you must start engaging in and studying. Being able to raise money, invest in multiple companies, protecting the investment, protect the stakeholders, in itself is an art. There are legal firms that is all they do. Figure out how to structure those entities. So I'm saying that to say that you might need to do a little bit more research. Do you understand? Beyond what was discussed 2 weeks ago. I might need to do a little more research, a little more reading to figure out, okay, how does this really work? In Nigeria and across the world, in addition to what I've already been taught, such that one day, today or tomorrow, I might just be an expert. I might just be that person that might provide that feedback that would create value for my clients or for my organization or for my boss. That's number 2 thing to mention. The law is a flexible tool and it keeps changing to adapt to the inclinations of dominant influences. Like Bazaman said the other time, an ignorance of the law cannot be an excuse. So whether you understand that this law is changing or it's not changing, whether you are used to how it's changing or not changing, you can't use that to excuse yourself from the implications of those changes. So give that time, master that, and you'll be better off. Now, knowledge management. Most of what we'll be discussing at the EMP deals with this subject of knowledge management. You already have your proficiencies in your technical field. Some of you are doctors, some of you are technicians, some of you are engineers. So we're discussing the management of organizations. That in itself is a class of work. It's not necessarily physical work, it's more of knowledge work. Now, knowledge workers are workers whose main capital is knowledge. Software engineers, physicians, doctors, pharmacists, architects, engineers, scientists, accountants, lawyers, academics. These are people whose job is to think and apply products of knowledge for a living. And the Bible said that at the end of the days, that knowledge would abound. So it's a biblical notion that we're going to have increased level of knowledge. And it is happening in our time. Knowledge is now the dominant factor of production. Now, think about it. The billionaire of the future will be wearing an academic gown or be leading men in academic gowns. By that, I mean that the billionaire of the future is going to be a knowledge-centric individual. You could tell me the major billionaires that we have today, the tech gurus, the software gurus, the banking gurus. These are knowledgeable individuals. Richest man in Africa, what's his name again? Alhaji Dangote. Very sound academician, if you may permit my use of that word, academician. You understand the business of making money. Look at these 4 men. First is Dangote, Elon Musk. Second man is a man I met of recent, and I began to appreciate a lot. He's a Turkish guy. He's a billionaire also in the textile industry. And the last person we know him, the founder of Apple. What do you think is the edge that these guys all have? What is their unique edge? Assuming you are asked. Can someone attempt?
Whoa.
Please, let's all endeavor to mute our mics, except when you have to speak. Please, we're recording the session. So looking at these men, what do we think is the edge they have?
For Elon Musk, because I think
I'm so sorry, Gladys. Your network is a bit bad.
It's always for me. It's creativity of wanting to go into the future and solve a problem and keep. Can you hear me?
No, I'm sorry, Gladys. We can't hear you. We can't hear you. Can you perhaps send a message and then let's hear from the next person, please?
Can you hear me now? Hello?
Now we can hear you, but there's this static at the background.
Is it still there? Is it better?
Okay. Okay, hello Gladys. Continue, please. I think I can hear you now.
Okay, what I'm saying is that for Elon Musk, hello? For Elon Musk, I think his ability to be innovative and creative to go into the future and solve a problem that he envisaged ahead. And people are trying to run with the time and meet him, especially in the area of tech. Say for why we now have Facebook as Meta. There's so many things they are trying to catch up with Elon Musk on. So for me, I think the edge he has is futuristic innovation.
Okay. Okay. Assuming you are asked, what do you think is common to the 4 men? Okay, let's even say the 3 men, those that you know that you think might reflect a commonality.
Okay, one thing that is common with them is that they want to break grounds and be number 1. But one is dead now. Okay. I think the last guy is dead. But his business is still on, yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Gladys. Nnamdi, want to add something to that?
Okay, for me, the little I know of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, I would say, and maybe Dangote, I would say it's knowledge and passion that they have in common.
Thank you very much. I want to pick from what Gladys said and add to what you said. She said that they want to be number 1, but the question is how? How exactly are they trying to be number 1? It's about the acquisition of relevant knowledge and application of that knowledge. Acquisition and application. Very important. By the time Dangote went public, many businessmen who were of similar scale as him could have gone public as well. Do you understand? By the time Dangote decided to buy up the cement companies of formerly owned by the government, other firms could have done that. So if you study the history of these guys, you will see a deliberate effort to acquire certain domains of knowledge and winning by those applications. It didn't just come on them because they were ambitious. The ambition is one thing, but what that ambition made them to do is what I would like us to ponder on. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is what you do with a passion and how you go about it. And as we discuss competitiveness today, which is the ultimate goal, that your firm is competitive, we want you to explore some of the critical thinkings that might influence that direction. It's not enough to say, I want to do, I want to do, I want to do. Many people want to do. It's not enough to want to do. What matters is the ability to actually do. The ability to actually do, and the step-by-step process of doing. We have discussed, yes, structures. Thank God you've gotten that. Now let's move on to discuss some of the things that influence the doing. Okay. Now, before I continue, in knowledge work, there are different classes, of course, of information. Technical, you have ICT, agricultural, pharmaceutical design, entertainment, NGO work, what's that more like technical domains. They also have some were in a way technical, but also domains that are a bit broad, like accounts and finance. Whatever you do, that domain, you will meet it. Management domain, spiritual, legal, entrepreneurship. These are domains that cut across other domains. So I said all that to say that even though this is not exhaustive, that value creation is knowledge class specific, and that management is a class on its own. In other words, all of us here, we're going to create value. We're going to create value within a knowledge class. We're going to work maybe in the agricultural NGO space, maybe pharmaceutical space, agricultural space. There's a domain of knowledge you are going to most likely interplay with, ICT space, right? That's the mastery of that domain is one thing. Now, there are other domain classes like management, entrepreneurship, accounts and finance, legal, entrepreneurship, that you need to also have to be able to, properly deploy the technical aspects properly in the market space. You need both. You need both general knowledge and the technical knowledge. Part of the reason why we're having this session is that a lot of us already have the technical. You can become a good programmer, you can write good software. But how do you get people to invest money in your business without you losing 100% of your shareholding? Do you understand? How do you commercialize a good idea? That in itself is under a different domain of account finance and entrepreneurship and legal. So these men had it in addition to their technical competence. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So knowledge management
Yes,
is about
sir.
you being able to manage your technical domain and having the business legal, finance proficiency to be able to make a good showing in the marketplace. So knowledge worker is that person who is able to create value from information. It can assess the information, it can store, it can process, it can execute on it. So you can read this up later. So the edge is that capacity to process knowledge and make proper decision from it. Which market should we play in? Why? When? How much? To what extent? So the value creator is preoccupied with that knowledge. I met this man, the one before Steve Jobs, and he was asking us questions about Nigeria. He asked about 3.5 hours of questions, and as he was asking, you could see the light bulb coming up and dimming in his eyes. Do you understand? Based on your answers, right? Now, he had enough processing capacity. He knows what he was looking for. Do you understand? So by just getting 1 or 2 information from you, he can make some decisions as to is there an opportunity here or not. Being able to interpret the socioeconomic data, interpret the market data, interpret the inflationary data of a country, these individuals are able to make decisions about those countries. That in itself is knowledge work. Now, there are certain issues that relate to knowledge work. One of them is attitude. The attitude here is that wisdom, not money, is the principal thing. So you pursue knowledge, you pursue wisdom. And in the knowledge work, you have to teach. But to teach, you have to first of all know. The attitude of the learner is the assumption of ignorance. So to do knowledge work, well, you have to first of all assume that you don't know and go and find out those that know. That's an attitude to have. I noticed that Farida and Josiah are not, they're not switched on. I hope they're hearing us. Okay. Josiah, can you hear us? Farida, can you hear us? I doubt. Please follow up with them. Let's know if they're having issues. Okay. So, access.
Okay, sir.
Bishops have teachers and learning structure. They have been taught. So, of course, the attitude of knowledge, the access, being within the circle where that knowledge can actually happen. It's a deliberate effort. You know, some people go abroad to study. It's a deliberate effort. Now, the question now is this: evaluate your own, you evaluate yourself, your church, and your country. What's our attitude to knowledge work? Our attitude to knowledge work and the kind of structures we'll build around knowledge work is going to determine how well we do that work. Now, another consideration about knowledge work is valuation and ownership. How do you properly value what you know? Think about that. How do you properly value what you know? I always get this question, and let me just present this case study. Let's assume, is any of us here in tech, software development? Anybody here? Or anybody aspiring to tech, to the world of tech? Okay.
The world of tech, sir.
Okay, Amoa. Okay, Stephen, you're in tech space. You're in tech space. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, Stephen, can you give an example of the kind of solution that you are working on or you might work on in this your space?
Okay, we have worked on the one that has to do with education.
Okay.
Like we're trying to design, a software like in the similitude of Coursera or Udemy for the African market.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's say Mr. Stephen has sufficient knowledge to design a platform, an e-learning platform, right? Like Udemy, Coursera. And Stephen has done the whole work. Stephen, let's assume that it will take maybe extra 20 million to finish up the work, employ engineers to finish up the work. Let's say it will take another 100 million to market it, right? Sell it out there. Then what you need 120 million. Let's say you have 1 million and you're looking for investments. How do you value that software that you have done?
Can you hear me, sir?
Please take that again.
So I said Stephen has developed a software for e-learning, like Udemy. Let's assume that he needs an extra 120 million to bring that software to the market. The question now is this. Assuming that Stephen has only 1 million naira to his name, how should he value the knowledge base that he has? And how can he negotiate to get this 120 million without losing his company? Any idea?
He may have to look at the market, the target audience that will need his product, and look at his the competitors already in the market and see how he can make his own much more user-friendly and cheaper, and find investors who, I don't know, I'm not a business person, but competitors are necessary, your target audience, then you pitch for the right investors.
The question is how would he value his own knowledge at the moment, not how he's going to beat the market. How would he value his own knowledge at the moment?
I think it has to be what he's bringing on board. He has to look
How?
at
No.
what is
Aside,
already. I think what is already out there. You see, for instance, an e-learning platform. What is it that he's bringing differently to say? I mean, so that when he's selling he will have that edge. I don't know.
Okay, thank you, Gladys.
Steven, this is your tech people. I don't know how you value these things.
Thank you, Gladys. Let's hear from someone else. How would you value that knowledge? Any other idea?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, good welcome.
All right. The way you can value his knowledge as at that time is, he's working on a project which may cost him we didn't talk about how much he has invested, but you're talking about how much is needed, how much is with him presently. So let's say
the bulk of the investment was just his time.
Okay. But with his time, there must be an expected value expected to come in if you put in this kind of effort. What you are expected to take in, that will be your own your own value for your own effort. You must be put into consideration. Then you can say we add it up with your initial capital and the expected proceed after the work. Then you can use it to value your work at that time. I don't know if I'm making sense.
You are trying. Okay, but the point I want to bring out from that question is that it's not straightforward. How does he put a value to it? Let's say he has only 1 million, and someone else is bringing 120 million naira. Yes, you have the software, but I have 120 million naira. How do you value what you have? Now, there are many ways to go about it, and we're going to answer this question properly in our lecture on risk safety financing. But the point I want to bring out is that valuing that knowledge in itself is an art. Do you understand? Being able to get a proper valuation of the knowledge is an art in itself, because you might overvalue it, you might undervalue it. And being able to value it it takes knowledge of the legal component, it takes cognizance of the economics component, and also finance. I can give you a case study. Let's say I actually want to invest in that project, 120 million. Civic could come and tell me, no, let's value it at 40% his own contribution. For example, that's like saying 48 million, right? 40% of 120 million is saying that he valued at 48 million naira. Now, someone might say, Stephen, assuming I employed you for the past 2 years that it took you to develop this software, I won't have paid you 48 million naira. Do you understand? So if Stephen valued it by the opportunity cost of his time, he probably would have valued it properly. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Now, so if you say, okay, let me value it based on the potential earning of that business. So if you say, oh, don't worry, you're putting 120 million naira, in 3 years you are making 1 billion, so this is a 1 billion naira firm, so I should get 60%, after all, the 40% you're going to get will still give you 400 million. Stephen is valuing based on the potential earning of the business. But the person will say, who knows what will happen in 3 years' time? How are we sure that it will make money and make 1 billion? Which is a valid answer, right? Now, just to give you a snippet of our lecture that day, a good way to structure that would be to say, let us treat this 120 million as if it's a debt, yielding a minimum level of returns on investment. And then, let's say we could say this money would buy you 20% of the company, one level of ownership. This money can also earn 40% per annum on invested amount for the next 3 years. And if you deliver at XYZ, this money can earn XYZ. Steven will get 10% for the contribution. If he delivers ABCD, he will earn more XYZ, XYZ. You know, now the legal structure could define the milestone basis upon which certain actions can happen. That way, protecting Steven's IP, protecting the money of the investor, and creating a good incentive such that regardless of how the business plays out, you know, the parties, either Steven or the investor, will get a favorable outcome. So the answer is not as simple as it appears, because you cannot say 10%, 20%, 40%, 50%. You know, any figure you put there is subjective, that we have to defend. But by using legal structures, by using potential economic earning, by using a knowledge of savings opportunity cost, by using a knowledge of valuation of other similar businesses, we can come up with something that works. But mind you, all that you are valuing is Steven's existing knowledge. I can also value the work that Steven will do the next 3 years in managing that business. So my point is that knowledge work creates issues of valuation, issues of ownership. Do you understand? And you being able to understand those issues would determine how well you can participate, you know, in the marketplace. IP management structures, institutional structures. For example, in every institution that does knowledge work, if you are employed by that institutions, the institution owns every IP you generate in the course of the work. That's an issue. Positive or negative, depending. I can give you a case study. In the US, like in most universities in Nigeria, the university owned at a time all the intellectual property of the individuals working in the university. So as a professor, the university owned your intellectual property. Of course, that created a disincentive for professors to commercialize their research, right? Then much later, the US changed that law. They changed the law, not necessarily by saying, no, we don't own the IP anymore. They said, they put it this way, that if you create an IP, a new IP, as a university professor, as a researcher, you have a window period of telling the school or the university that you have a new innovation, maybe 1 month. Within that 1 month of saying you have a new innovation, the university can make you an offer either to buy that innovation or to share it with you. If the university doesn't make you that offer, you are free to commercialize the research, but university must own a de facto percentage. If you partner with an industry stakeholder to develop that research, there are different protocols for that. But by just creating this structure, university professors started commercializing their research. Because even though the school still has a share, it's no longer the lion's share. That way, the universities benefited, the professors benefited. So in most US universities, particularly the likes of IMT and all that, the bulk of their financing is coming from businesses that have benefited from the intellectual property sharing arrangements. Do we understand that case study? Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We do, sir.
Okay.
I do, sir.
Did anybody get that? So you can just paraphrase, please. Stephen, you got that?
Yeah, I did, sir.
Nam, did you get that?
Not entirely. Not entirely.
Okay. Okay, Stephen, try to recap it for the class. Stephen, please. Hello, Stephen, help me.
Hello, can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, what you basically discussed now is about the aspect that ownership plays in valuation. And there is no way you will own something that the issue of valuation will not come up. So you made mention of the university environment whereby professors can commercialize their research works, and which also brings valuation into play. I think that is what I understand, sir.
Stephen, you didn't understand it. Okay, let me rephrase.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, please.
All right. From what you just said, that valuation is not always certain, it's not always perfect, but as the owner of the job, as the knowledge worker, your material, you will definitely get value for your knowledge. By the end of the day, even if you bring in investor, you will still get value for that your knowledge and time. Like the case study you mentioned of the American university, before, any project they did always been taken away from them. Now, because of that, they commercialize it, and the school discovered that they are losing. So they have to give them a frame time. If you bring up any work, okay, within this time, let us reason together how we're going to go about it, so that everybody will be win-win. At least you will smile, the school too will smile, you too will get value for your effort, and they will get something for their own contribution. I think that's what I understand, sir.
Okay, thank you, Lekon. Now, you want to say something?
I think he explained a little, because I was about to say where I followed up to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. What I want to bring out from that is that I was just trying to say that in a knowledge work environment, there are certain issues that you should take note of. One of them is the issue of valuation. How do you value the knowledge? And I gave an example of how Stephen would find it difficult to value his knowledge after building a software. The other is the issue of ownership. Who owns the knowledge? If you're working in an organization, the employer who pays the salary owns the knowledge. However, sometimes when that is completely the case and there's no commensurate compensation for an extra knowledge that a worker generates, it might serve as a disincentive for the knowledge worker to apply his knowledge. You understand? Which is why I gave an example of a university as a scenario. So a knowledge management protocol becomes important in a knowledge working environment. Do you get that? Because the institution recognizes that knowledge work is an individual work, that we may not contribute at the same level. So even though we are all lecturers, the university had to create a system to compensate the extra creation of knowledge. So what that tells you that in your own organization that you are building or that you hope to build or manage, that is going to be a knowledge work environment, you cannot operate as if it is not a knowledge work environment. You cannot say that people who are creators of knowledge should be paid the same thing as people who are not creating, who are just there pushing fire. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So it creates an issue of valuation, it creates an issue of ownership, it creates an issue of how to manage the knowledge within the organization itself. It creates an issue of legal issue. Who owns it? In other words, I don't have to give an analogy now. What are you free to share? Do you get what is your right to share some of the knowledge within the organization? So there's some firms that if you share the knowledge within that organization, you might even get killed. Not just being not just being sanctioned legally, you could die for it. So my point, knowledge work creates certain considerations like valuation, like ownership, like sharing, like storage, and it's a big deal, like knowledge transfer. I'll give you an example. People on my team, we are aware that I have to travel over the last week. And our goal, our objective of the trip was just to convince a particular institution to share knowledge with us. We're like, we'll pay you to manage particular projects and you lead it for a while. We'll pay you for that service, but we'll still give you equity. Do you understand? You are seeking for knowledge transfer. Have you noticed that the big firms will hire a CEO and give that CEO equity? Have you noticed that there are people in Nigeria today that if you want to hire them, if you're not offering them equity, you can't hire them? Are you guys aware of such?
I'm not.
Yes, yes.
By equity, I mean, if you don't give them a share of the company, it's not enough incentive to attract them. So that tells you a lot. That tells you a lot about the knowledge that they're bringing in, that you can't just put a price to it. So knowledge work creates certain issues about even hiring, staff management, staff compensation. And it's good that you understand that and you understand how and why it can be prioritized. I will say that you study Meiji Japan. Meiji Japan is a period in Japanese development when Japan became a knowledge economy. This happened between 1868 to 1912. They had an emperor called Emperor Meiji. And the Emperor Meiji came up and said, this is our era of knowledge. This is the era of Japan becoming knowledgeable. Japan must become a knowledge work country. And he made it happen. He sent Japan folks to UK, to US to go and study. And I like giving this analogy, this story rather. There was a guy in Japan who was studying economics at a UK university. I think that was Oxford. Then the person running what was like Japanese central bank called him and said, we have many economics already in Japan, but we don't have a vibrant textile sector. Find a closed some US dollars, use this amount and find yourself an opportunity to work in a textile company for let's say 4 years, come back, I will help you get financing to start up Japan's textile company. The guy took the money, resigned from his PhD in the UK, found a UK company, that was willing to take him to work as an intern, and he was paying the company to teach him. And in 4 years, he came back to Japan and built Japan's first textile company. My point, that is knowledge work. That is how countries are developed. Seeking out requisite knowledge, gaining those knowledge, and applying that knowledge in the right space and the right sector. That is how individuals are developed. You say, I need this knowledge, I go get it, I go master it, and I come back and I apply it properly and create the right ownership structure for me to profit from that. Now, other issues to note is that, of course, knowledge is the predominant factor of productivity. Academic industry partnerships is recognized to be the leading source of innovation in the years to come. In other words, the intersect between academia and industry, is now, it's more like, it's now a marriage. There's now a new marriage between academia and business. We cannot afford to be a businessman in today's world without being an academic guru. Do you understand? You have to become a scholar in any field you want to be in, because the predominant factor of production in that field is knowledge. I have some experience in the real estate world, and even though I'm the developer in the project, the architect is the architect factor, right? But I have never carried one block of concrete or one bag of cement. Neither has the what do you call that? The architect. So, in other words, we are building the house, the estate, but we are not building it with our muscle. Do you understand? Am I communicating?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I'm talking to myself. Okay.
No,
so,
no.
okay, the knowledge worker is
No, you're not, sir.
Is the one that will make the most profit. One that make the most profits, the one that determine the shape of the work, but it's not the one that does the physical work. So you have to transit. So, for example, some of you that you spend time in your computers and all that, that is the work. That computer work now is the real work. That economics, that finance, that analysis, that is the real work. It's not carrying the bag of cement, which is important. Knowledge is domiciled in people, and we are in one place at a time. Hence, industry clusters exist by default. Because knowledge is domiciled in people, and people are only in one place at a time, relationships, being in locations where those people actually exist, becomes a thing. So, if, for example, we want to play in Nollywood, you need to be in Lagos. If you want to play in the ICT space, you need to visit Yaba. You need to intersect with people who are in that space, because knowledge is domiciled in people. That is why you're having this lecture today. We're not sending you money. We're not sending you quantas of business education. We're just talking to you. So knowledge is domiciled in people. So no matter how shy you are, if you don't interact with people, you don't get knowledge. So clusters exist because knowledge is domiciled in people. And where you have people with similar kind of knowledge, the quantity of work they do will be higher. So imagine you have 10 of you, depending on whether you are good or bad, there will be a synergistic effect of that good or bad. So if you have 30 great guys in one organization, magic starts to happen. So you create a cluster of competitiveness. So every firm is trying to create that cluster of good heads who can do good knowledge work, and you have a synergy of great minds, and then you can have miracles. Do you understand? So productivity, however, this ability to create knowledge, to create value out of knowledge, happens at the firm level. At the firm. In other words, a firm, a business, an organization is the single unit of productivity. However, firms are influenced by their environment. Poor knowledge management environment lead to generally less productive firms. When you have generally less productive firms, you have less productive industries, which causes less productive nations. At the heart of economic matters is the knowledge management challenge. I'll repeat. At the heart of economic development of any nation is the quality of her knowledge management and nothing else. I was privileged to be at ABU Zaria. When I was there as a student, we had a professor from Japan come to visit, and he was invited to speak to the faculty and to the student community. And the guy was like, you guys have everything in Nigeria. You have everything. You have oil. You have good land. You have water. You have everything. He said, in Japan, we don't have any of this. We don't have water. We don't have good land. He said, but we have what? We have men. So we have men in Japan. But what he meant is that we have knowledgeable men who are able to manage knowledge properly. And I would like to pause the first session of this lecture to reiterate that consideration. That what is lacking in Nigeria, what is lacking in your industry, what is lacking in your organization, is not money, it's not anything tangible, it's just capacity to manage knowledge, capacity to assess, interpret, and properly deploy knowledge. Let's take questions. Thank you. Before we continue, let's take some questions, observations, clarifications. Anybody? Mr. Jide, do you want to add to this? The class is a bit quiet. I think I've lost all of them.
Yes,
you know, when you talked about knowledge, let me first share a conversation between myself and the man of my company. To him actually, so but he invited me that he wanted me to be part of that discussion. And after the discussion, where to the woman, the man should be able to jump, at the deal. The first thing he told the woman, he said, "Ma, in my life, I've never looked for money."
Well, I'm so sorry, sir. So it appears that we're not hearing you properly. Is it from my end
I've never in my life always look for. You're not hearing me?
Yeah, I'm sorry, sir. We're not hearing you clearly. I don't know if it's my end or everybody else has the same issue.
I'm not here. It's breaking.
His line is breaking.
Oh, maybe it's my internet though.
I have to. Okay, maybe you try again. Try again, sir, please.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Go on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I was just happened in my chairman's office when someone actually brought a business deal and the person thought, oh, this is a very fantastic deal because
the line is breaking
money
again.
In it. 2 days. Wow. Or maybe I should just switch my internet.
Sir. Please, sir. Please, sir. Thank you.
Just maybe can continue contribution. Let me quickly do that and switch back.
Okay, so what we're waiting for, sir, I think Nnamdi, you're about to say something. Go ahead, please.
Not really, sir. But nothing. But I need more clarity on this competitiveness issue. Like, I want to understand. Sorry, am I still being heard?
Yeah, you are being heard. We have not actually entered lecture on competitiveness. I just discussed knowledge work and business structures. That was to lay the foundation for competitiveness.
All right, then I'll hold off till then. I'll just put it down. Yeah.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Lekon.
Yeah. What most of these things we discussed here, you just taught us, like in Nigeria settings, most times our employee refuse to invest in our knowledge. Like, I know that if you are being employed, no matter what you are bringing, they still sit you down, take you through their process. But in Nigeria, they just take you and put you wherever, just you are part of the team. At times, you want to take a critical decision, and you are the best in that field. You are the best to advise, with your knowledge, with your own background, you may not be considered. But now, because that thing you've discussed really, really, really make my day, knowledge. How do you must know before you go in. You must know how to equip yourself, at least to some standard. Now, in an organization where your knowledge is not even being allowed, like you want to bring in something, an idea, they tell you, no, this way, we know the way we do it here. Don't, like you say, you may even be killed when you introduce a new idea or something. How do we go about it? How do we, so that the zeal, they will not kill it even before we started. So.
Thank you very much, Leko. That's a very good question. And I'll try and broaden it. Most times when you go to an organization, you are paid money for a particular task, right? Now, that organization is paying you, let's say, X amount, right, for a particular task. The assumption the organization is making is that you are at least contributing 2X to them. Is that true, Mr. Lekon?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's true.
Good. Now, if that organization is happy with X as profit, the firm does not have any incentive to train you. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense.
Because why do I have to train you if I'm happy with my margin? So whose responsibility is it to increase the X? You or the organization?
Is the organization.
But they're happy with the X because they're paying you X, you're generating 2X. So the profit for that is 2X minus X, Abi, is equals to X. True or false? True.
True.
So if the firm is happy with that X as profit, I'm asking whose role goal is it to improve the X so that it will not, whose role is it to make it X plus 1 or X plus 2 so that the new earning can now be 2X plus 2? Whose goal is that? It is the individual. Perfect. So knowledge work, even though it's done at a firm level, responsibility is individual. So my goal and your goal is to become more knowledgeable in the space you have found yourself, so that the problem that you should have should be a problem of adequate compensation. Do you get? Let it be that I'm contributing the knowledge and I'm not being paid properly for that. That's a separate problem. Than that I don't even have the knowledge. So even though most people will complain about that, but it's always good to focus on your sphere of influence. You cannot go and convince the firm to train you, or you can train yourself. Any other comment, observation, questions? That makes sense, Lekon, does it?
It really makes sense. I know normally okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Well, go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
I said, I know normally you should improve ourselves as, no matter how you should be competent, at least let's acquire the knowledge we need for any field we choose, at least to be behind.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that, at times when you get to a setup, you say, okay, how do you go about this place? Like maybe the way they operate, it's not even about the profit now. It's about way of style of working.
Yes.
There are so many ways that can lead to junction. You may decide to follow the north, west, east, and you discover you have a very better way to get to that goal. What I'm saying is that they may not take it from you because they don't want you to come and outshine them, and as time goes on, you may be discouraged. I'm just saying we should encourage ourselves and focus on our goal and develop ourselves and prepare for those challenges.
Fantastic. Let me also add something else to that. There's a lecture we're going to have later on advocacy. Advocacy is the art of influencing people, right? Being able to convince your line manager to adopt your better propositions is an art in itself. I'll give an example. I had a client in Lagos between 2012 and 2015. Now, for this particular client, if you want to sell one idea to him, you have to come with it in 10 different ways. I should be willing to wait for like this 6 months for him to buy it. You understand? It was so bad that you're going to make money for the organization, no? But you are selling it almost as if you're making money for yourself. You get? Because he just didn't want to lose money. He was so happy with status quo that advocacy was, you need to come with your best A game in advocacy to convince him to buy an idea. But each time you convince him to buy it, he will buy it so well that it is worth the effort. So part of the mistake that we might make is the assumption that when you get to your organization, your boss is waiting to hear what you have to say. It's a wrong assumption. Many times you have to learn how to sell that perspective to the boss. And that requires you having sufficient technical knowledge, sufficient business knowledge, sufficient economic knowledge. And one way to do that is to become like the boss in your knowledge. Whenever you become like the boss in your knowledge of the industry, your knowledge of the competition, your knowledge of the challenges in that organization, over time, it becomes easier to get the boss to listen to you. Remember Joseph. Joseph was so good at the house of Potiphar that Potiphar left everything to him. If the boss figures that you can think and act the way he would have thought and act, over time, he would, hands off over to you. That is the law of human nature. Do you understand? As long as you don't take the glory, that's something else. You don't come and say, I did. Even if you say it to your family and friends, don't say it to the boss or to people who the boss knows. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Very, very true.
Because you don't try that. Anytime you try to make it look as if you are the one, leading the boss, you are out of the organization. Because you can only have one boss. You can't have two. So just like our service to God, right? In our service to God, God can use it to heal the sick, raise the dead. But the day you come and say, I raise the dead, yeah, that day, that is the day you will die. So there's delegation, even the use of power. So to be that person of influence, you have to master the knowledge base, not just the technical, but also the business part of things. And over time, your boss can rely on you to take leadership, but it takes a while. It will not happen, in a hurry. And advocacy is a skill set. Mr. Jide, are you back? Mr. Jide, are you back? Okay, he's not back yet. Any observation, questions, clarifications before we continue? Mr. Innocent, you've been quiet. Any comment, observation? Okay, Stephen is raising his hand. Stephen, let's hear from you before Innocent comes in. Stephen.
All right, sir. So I have a question. Like, what can be done in a situation whereby knowledge is being rationed? Like, what I mean is, for example, you went for a training and maybe a training for an installation of a particular device. But the company you are dealing with intentionally ration the knowledge so that you can always keep coming back. They did not, what I'm trying to say is that they did not release the full details of the knowledge to you, because I had an experience like that with my boss. We're trying to install a lift for a client, an elevator. So we had a contract. The white guys that supplied the elevator did not release the full manual. So, and we are dealing with experts. They tried and tried and tried and tried, followed the whole manual, followed everything. Still, the lift did not work. So it was then that I would discover that they hid some things. So what can one do, sir, in the quest for knowledge, so that
Thank you very much.
in your quest for acquiring knowledge, you will not fall in the trap of knowledge ration?
That's a very good question. You know, remember that we discussed the issue of knowledge transfer. It's an issue that arises in the field of knowledge management. Yes, it's a significant concern, particularly for African countries. There's almost a deliberate effort to keep us in the path of ignorance. And it is individuals that break those barriers of knowledge and who are also eager to share with others, like we are doing today. It will not happen overnight, but if it's a strategic objective of the organization, of you as a person, over time you will cross that barrier. So for example, a client might show you A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, and not tell you the other one. Another person might tell you G, H, B, F, G, A, G, and stop at O. Another person might tell you S, T, E, V, you know. You might need to have multiple t-shirts, right? Multiple t-shirts. By having multiple t-shirts, you're able to say, put 2 and 2 together and say, oh. So you cannot rely on one person. Give an example of our trip. I traveled to my country of recent, and our whole goal was to say, we don't have the knowledge. We cannot even acquire it in the next 5 to 10 years. Come and work with us for 10 years. Hopefully, in that 10 years, we will acquire it. Our goal internally is to do it in 5. But you might be and live in a position of disadvantage for a while until you get the knowledge. But you don't have to rely on the goodwill necessarily of the party to give you the knowledge. You need to explore so many options. And I'm happy you're thinking like that, because this is how Africans ought to be thinking. How do we get knowledge transfer? And we're going to share a case study that answers some of these questions. Any other question before we continue? Let's share this case study. Okay, none for now. I believe you're seeing my screen. Oh, let me be sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. So this is just industry clusters, example of clusters. Let me give an example of what happened at Stanford University. Then we'll now discuss the in-depth mathematical case study. Stanford University is the precursor to what we call Silicon Valley today. During the 1940s and 1950s, a man called Dr. Frederick Palmer was the Dean of Engineering at Stanford. He was also the provost at the same time. He encouraged faculty and graduates to start their own companies. He promoted the development of what we call the Stanford Research Park, developed a partnership with the city, that is Palo Alto City, a 700-acre research park, where he allowed companies, tech companies, to work with the university research faculty to solve problems, to bid for government contracts, to bid for private sector contracts. Firms like Lockheed, Fairchild, Xerox, GE, HP, located, and some of them even grew out of that park. HP grew out of Stanford University. Google grew out of Stanford University. So the likes of Facebook lived at Stanford University Park. Eastman Kodak, Tesla, DuPont, S&P, Ford, HP. My point is that because this university intentionally looked for industry to partner with, to co-locate with, to work together with, they created a miracle. Silicon Valley was born. So Silicon Valley is just companies around Stanford University. In 2021, Stanford University has an endowment of $37.8 billion. In other words, Stanford University has more foreign reserve than Nigeria. They were the first university to raise $1 billion in endowment in 1 year. Purposeful leadership, deliberate research industry partnership, deliberate government partnership, focus on specific industry, purpose-built buildings, startup culture. You can make this your worldview as well, or that of your firm or your organization. So I just let me share that case study of how Stanford University gave birth to Silicon Valley. So you know that what you see in the marketplace are not miracles. They didn't just happen. They were men and women like you and I being deliberate about doing things a particular way. I'll give another example of India. Because of time, let me just tell you that a story. Before 1970, India was just like Nigeria, not having any manufacturing capacity whatsoever, particularly in the pharmaceutical industry. There was a product called propranolol. Any pharmacist in-house? Any pharmacist or healthcare person?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now, okay, pharmacist. Propranolol.
Yeah.
Your way propranolol is an anti-hypertensive, right?
Yes, sir.
When propranolol was discovered around 1960 something, it was called an expensive drug for the Indian population to buy. And one particular Indian businessman was so concerned that this drug is so expensive that he told his staff members to reverse engineer it. And they reverse engineered the drug and produced it in a different way from the way GSK produced it. But it was the same propranolol. GSK took them to court that have infringed on their patent. And this company went to the parliament and got a judge to advise the then Prime Minister of India, who was the daughter of Gandhi. And they agreed to change the Indian Patent Act to say that it is the process of production that matters and not the product that was produced. Does this make sense? What I just said?
Yes.
So the act basically said, if you produce this thing in a different way, I'll give you a patent. Before then, the product patent regime said, if I produce this, anybody else that makes this will pay me. But this Indian Act said, as long as you can make this in a different way, you can find a new patent. In other words, India was now able to reverse engineer all pharmaceutical products that was being brought into India. And for the next 30 years, the Indian pharmaceutical industry took off. They read up this. But between 1970 and 2005, after 5 years, the Indian pharmaceutical company became a force to be reckoned with. Manufacturing companies in India grew from 2,000 to 20,000, employing more than 5 million people directly and 20 million indirectly. Everybody agreed that that change in patent process was what made it happen for them. The point to note The process of knowledge management, regulation, and protection is a massive consideration in the world of knowledge work. That if your country does not have a process, if your firm, your industry does not have a process of managing knowledge, you can never become competitive globally. Not in the world of today. So for example, the firm we want to see in my last trip was a textile company. They had better know-how. For example, they were just telling us that they said, Nelson, if you use a gas plant, for example, to generate your power for a textile mill, so your gas plant requires water to be cooled. And the water that leaves that gas plant is hot, super saturated water of more than 150 degrees Celsius. So you need that water in your dyeing plants, your textile dyeing plants. That integration could be a game changer in your cost competitiveness. That's an example of knowledge. I'll give another example. As a firm in Nigeria here that makes rice, that the biggest makers of rice in Nigeria. In their rice plants, because they also they generate a whole lot of husk in their rice plants. They're able to build a plant that uses the rice husk to generate energy. So much so that their rice processing plant has 95% energy dependence on the husk. In other words, they don't buy energy 95% of the time. They rely on their waste products to generate their energy. In fact, they are expanding their operation so that they can generate more husk and not even have to buy energy at all. My point again, that is knowledge management. So the structure you have to put in place to ensure you can retain and acquire this knowledge at a national firm level will determine if you can be competitive. That's why I'm discussing this initially before we discuss competitiveness. So for example, I gave you guys the case study of the American university, right? Do you remember that case study?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Evaluation.
Nigeria does not have a patent framework that is functional. All of us say, go to university. Have you heard that any of your university professors filed a patent? Question. Does anybody care to answer that question?
No.
Has anybody heard that your lecturer filed a patent and now commercialized a partner with the university or anything of that nature?
No, sir.
The fact that you've not heard it is showing that the education you had has not even entered the knowledge arena. You've not had a knowledge economy relevant education. And the earlier you recognize that, the better. And the education you had has not entered the knowledge economy because the world is a knowledge economy. What made Facebook great, and making them great, is the ability to manage the metadata they're able to get from you and I when we browse for food. So if a country like Nigeria doesn't have a patent, an IP management framework that is functional, how do we expect to be competitive? I've had the privilege of showing some of my lecturers the first patent that they saw. You know, this is how it looks like. Part of my assignments, gentlemen, share it before our next lecture tomorrow. For anything in your field, in every field here, important document, share it. Just expose yourself to that field, because most times, most likely, you have no clue, you know, as to some of the considerations that must be made. Because if knowledge is the most important factor, you have to protect it. And how do you protect it? So that lecture will be held by Sir Max later on in this session, but I raised that so that you begin to think properly as you ought to, and then from there you can start making better decisions. So clusters, these are just examples of clusters, but the point to note from these clusters is that because knowledge is in human beings, when human beings are in one geographical location, they tend to perform better. So if you can locate yourself within a cluster of competitiveness, you have access to better knowledge and even better resources to do better. Very important. Now, let us discuss competitiveness. Michael Porter, who you are going to have to read up a lot, he said this, he said, national prosperity is created, not inherited. It does not grow out of a country's national endowments, its labor pool, its interest rate, or its currency's value, as classical economists insist. A nation's competitiveness depends on the capacity of its industry to innovate and upgrade. We may not discuss industry competitiveness today because of time, but we want to discuss firm competitiveness. But I felt to leave you with the word of Porter as we plan for tomorrow's session. Now, the World Economic Forum defines competitiveness as a set of institutions, policies, and factors that determine the level of productivity of a country. This man, Fagerberg, says that this refers to the ability of a country to achieve the goal of raising the living standard of living of its people by way of sustained growth in income and employment, and doing so without running into balance of payment difficulties. The OECD defines it as the degree to which, under open market conditions, a country can produce goods and services that meet the test of foreign competition while simultaneously maintaining and expanding domestic real income. In a nutshell, the competitiveness of a country, of an industry, is the ability to produce comparable products of quality and pricing. In other words, this Bible now can be made in China, can be made in India, can be made in Nigeria. In China, it might be 100 naira. In Nigeria, it might be 1,000 to make it. Assuming it's the same quality. Who is more competitive?
It's China.
China. So being able to produce something that is globally, globally standard at better pricing or quality. But these definitions factor in the fact that you are not doing it at the expense of something else, because you must have used child labor to produce it. But assuming that you're using child labor, assuming you are using normal labor, you're paying well and all that, and you still produce a better product, then you are more competitive. production. Now, the World Competitiveness Report, published by World Economic Forum, which is published annually, uses 10 pillars: institution, infrastructure, ICT adoption, macroeconomic stability, health, skills, product market, labor market, financial system, market size, business dynamism, and innovation capability to rate countries. And if you look at this, you can see where Nigeria is ranked. When you compare us with China and other mint countries. Mint means Mexico, India, Nigeria, and Turkey. But Nigeria is not, like other institutions, we are worst off of all them of them all. Under infrastructure, we are worse off. Under ICT adoption, we are better than India, right? But we are worse off than the rest. Under macroeconomic stability, we are at the same level. Okay, we are slightly better than Ghana, but we're worse off than the rest. Under health, we are the worst. Under skills, worst. Under product market efficiency, we are better than India, but we are worse off than the rest. Under labor market, we have better labor market even than China, India, because China is a closed system. South Africa is better than us. We're better than Mexico, better than Ghana, better than Turkey. But financial system, we're worse off than the rest. Market size, we're better than South Africa, better than Ghana, but we're worse off than the rest. So my point is that this report, published annually by World Economic Forum, is one of the standards, one of the global standards for evaluating national competitiveness. Mind you, we still will not discuss this in detail today, but we'll discuss competitiveness. I'm just giving you an intro. So, question: are nations competing? 2, what are they competing for? What is the kingdom mindset? Or what should be the kingdom mindset? Let us discuss this for now. Then we'll continue. Questions, comments, observations? Are nations competing? What are they competing for? What should be the kingdom mindset? Any takers?
Okay, hello. My name is Chisomeje. Yes, the answer to your question is that nations are competing. As for what they are competing for, I think it varies. Like the example you gave us with India, they were competing for dominance in the pharmaceutical industry, and they got it because they were able to provide producers and consumers. They were able to ensure that there are no single buyers or seller influences or prices. By that data you showed us before 2005 and after 2005, they were able to remove barriers to enter the market. They were able to do things that made them competitive. So yes, nations are competing, though some are going about it the wrong way. Like, if you read the history of what the American nation used the CIA to do as far back as, many years ago. So yes, nations are competing in their own very different ways. See Russia and Ukraine. Look, there are several historical stories as to how nations are competing and the methods they've used for world dominance and for whatever it is that they're competing for. So yes, nations are competing, but are you asking me should I answer about the kingdom mindset? Should I answer that?
Yeah,
or am I just answering?
Go ahead.
Okay, the kingdom mindset is what is the kingdom mindset? To spread the gospel to all nations, right? But in this case, you are discussing it through the business model.
Yes.
So what is the kingdom mindset is, from what you've listed, to have a very good understanding of what are the biblical processes of doing business, and to spreading this knowledge across. We know that as people that are doing business with the kingdom mindset, there are certain things we cannot do. We have our limits biblically. We have methods we cannot practice because it does not glorify God, because we are meant to, practice this, with the kingdom mindset. So I think that's where the real challenge comes in for us as business people, because sometimes when it looks like you are not playing the game well, if you're not playing it the way the world is playing, and it looks like all odds are stacked against you, but we can also find people who have excelled in that area, find out the things that they did, how they were able to, become kingdom moguls, and learn from them. As few as they are, there are people that we can learn such things from. And yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chisom. Thank you for that. Does anybody else have any thought to share? What are nations competing for? So nations, yes, are competing. They're competing primarily for market share. Like she said, dominance. But in business parlance, you can use the word market share. So today, I'm having this conversation. I have a laptop. This laptop is Dell. Somebody has won that market share, right? It's on a table, a glass table. Somebody has won that market share. I'm not sure it's a Nigerian company. On the furniture, the table is standing on, the wood. I don't know who has won the market share. And I'm wearing a Betron slippers, and I'm sure it's not made in Nigeria. Someone has won that market share. I'm using a camera, Venetian blind behind me. I'm in a marble, a tile floor. My clothes, my textile company, my earphone, my bandana, my wristwatch. Somebody is winning that market share. Do you get the point, folks? Nations are competing. Industries are competing. They're competing for market share. They're competing for market share, essentially. And some people are losing that market. And what is the kingdom mindset? The kingdom mindset is that you need to understand what is happening. That will help you a lot. You need to understand why there's poverty in the land. There's poverty in the land simply because you have lost the competition. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So declaring fasting and prayer, Nigeria will change. Nigeria will change. It will not change like that. It will not change like that. So what we mean when we say Nigeria will change, we mean that Nigeria will become more competitive. Because you can only make money if somebody has bought something from you. True or false? True. But when you buy everything, you don't make anything, you're not selling anything. How can you make money? So the kingdom mindset is understanding. And I'm thankful that the heroes of faith that we have were not magicians. Daniel, Joseph, King David, Abraham, they are not magicians. They are people who understood their word, who trained an army, who did business, who traded in the marketplace, and who were prosperous in their age. In the time of the King David, it was a warring nation. War and agriculture, right? Abraham, agriculture. Isaac, agriculture. Abi, in our age, it's no longer agriculture, it's a knowledge era. So if Abraham lived in our age, what would he be thinking? Would he have slaves? No. Would he have a company that has 500 persons in his payroll? Yes, he will have. Do you get my analogy now?
Yes, sir.
Imagine Abraham in today's world, how he will be thinking. Think like that. Imagine Isaac, when he was saying that I dug the land, I dug water, they struggled with me. Think of IP protection. Does it make sense?
Yes, sir.
Imagine when Joseph
Yes.
was contemplating the dream of a king. Think of national service. Think of Buhari saying, "I'll feed 100 million persons." What are you thinking? What are you seeing when Buhari says 100 million persons fed? Do you take that king's dream as your Josephic ministry? Or are you also eating Gary and saying, don't mind them, don't mind them? So the kingdom message is understanding that you have to be a person of influence within the system, and that you are competing for influence as well, because we are called to disciple the nations. Disciple means to influence people. I cannot influence as a negative contributor. You influence by being a positive contributor, right? This is how the people that work ahead of us achieved influence. Daniel, Joseph, David, they achieved influence by playing the marketplace, winning that marketplace, and exerting influence over their peers. Make that your calling. Make that your vocation, and the way you come to business is entirely different. So let's take some questions, and then maybe 15 minutes break. Go have your coffee, and then we'll come back by 6:20. Is that okay? Any questions before we take that 20 minutes, 16 minutes break? Any questions? Okay. Deborah, over to you. When we come back, we'll start discussing competitiveness at a firm level.
Okay.
So when we say a firm is competitive, we mean that a firm shows growth, the firm shows profitability, and the firm has capacity to meet customer expectation. Growth in terms of market share, like I said earlier, profitability in terms of margins and returns on investments, and capacity to meet customer expectation is demonstrated by customer satisfaction. These three elements is what makes a firm. Now, you could translate that to also say an industry. When you have a collection of firms, having this same vision, you could say that they are an industry. Is competitive. So we gave an example of the fact that this phone is probably made in China. So you could say that Chinese firms are more competitive than maybe Nigerian firms in the manufacturing of phones. Maybe this ceramic, I don't know where it's made from. You could say the same thing. The same with this, you could refer for every category of product, who or which industry has shown more competitiveness. However, within that industry, we could now look at the firms within that industry, which ones are more competitive. Now, these two subjects, industry and firm competitiveness, you cannot completely diverge the two of them. But you agree with me that I might be in a competitive industry and not be competitive. True of us.
True.
True. Let me ask you a question. Is the Nigeria's cement industry competitive?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay, why do you say so?
Okay, the fact that the cement industries are able to export to other African countries, at least makes it competitive in the West African region. And I think for that reason, that's my reason for saying it's competitive.
Okay, at comparable quality and pricing. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I don't really know the answer to that. Whether our quality and pricing is okay. Sorry, our pricing is okay, but I know our quality is comparable. You know, so based on that, you could say that our cement industry is competitive. But is Chibuzo's cement company competitive? It's a different conversation, right?
No, sir.
Exactly. So we might have the best cement industry, but your own particular cement factory may not be competitive. So we're discussing that cement factory right now. Then afterwards, we can discuss Chibuzo's cement company. Sorry, after that, we can discuss the cement industry. But now, our concern now is Chibuzo's cement factory. So in trying to check if Chibuzo's cement factory is competitive, we use two approaches most times. What we call the resource-based view and the industry-based or market-based view. Resource and market. Resource and market, don't forget that. Now, the first approach, the resource-based view, basically says that if Chibuzo has the best internal resources, Chibuzo's factory will be competitive. So it's about having the best resources. You know, it's about having the best physical, human, and organizational capacity. You know, or another person says about having the best financial, physical, human, technological, reputational, and organizational resources. Resource-based view is focused about having the best resource framework of what you can call VRIO. It says value. Does this resource provide competitive advantage? Do other competitors possess it? You know what? Is it rare? Is it imitable? Is it costly for others to imitate? Is the firm organized to exploit this resource? So resource-based basically says find sources of value that are rare, that are difficult to imitate, that you can organize and use. If you have these resources at your disposal, you'll be competitive. That is the approach that resource-based view recommends. I will off my mic or my video to help your quality of your perception. Now, this is one approach to say, Chibuzo, go and get the best human capital, go and get the best financial resources, go and have the best equipment, have the best organizational structure, and of course, do the right brand value, have the best software, you will be competitive. So human resources will put training, experience, judgment, intelligence, you know, financial money, the best financial structure, the best equipment, the best management team, the best brand, you'll be competitive. And there's nothing wrong with this approach. This approach works in certain settings or in most settings. However, it's good to look at the other approach as well so that we can, you know, infect. But for those who are just joining us, we are discussing competitiveness, and we said for a firm, it can be looked at two ways: resource-based view and market-based view. Resource-based view say have the best resource that are rare, that are valuable, difficult to imitate, and that you can organize to declare to make profit. However, the market-based view said, forget about the resource. It's about the structure of the market. And it is your ability to adapt your strategy to the market. So, source-based view says have the best resources. Market-based view said adapt yourself to the best structure in the market. I will shed more light. Source-based view can be explained most perfectly using what we call the Porter's 5 forces. If you're going to be a manager, you have to understand these Porter's 5 forces. These are some minimum gold standard of industrial analysis in the management space. Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces says that we can use these 5 forces to understand the forces at play in the market. So please, I'll need your attentiveness as we discuss these 5 forces. Remember, the source-based view say have the best resource. Market-based view say understand the market. To understand the market, you cannot take a position within the market. So I'm going to use 3 industries to discuss these Porter's 5 forces. And you're going to give me those industries. Well, now, let me start by defining some of the 5 elements of that industry. Of any industry, we're going to talk about the bargaining power of buyers. Bargaining power of buyers. In other words, how strong are buyers in this industry? How strong are buyers in the industry? Can somebody give me one industry so I can use that to describe this? Can someone give me an industry?
Telecom.
The telecom. Lovely. So in discussing the bargaining power of buyers, we discuss things like buyer concentration versus firm concentration. In other words, are buyers concentrated or not? So in telecom, are buyers concentrated?
Yes, sir.
No, they are not concentrated because you don't have a buyers union. We are all independently using buying telecom services, on our own. Do you understand? So let me give you an example of where you have concentrated buyers. Let's say you have let's say you have a cooperative of farmers who are buying something from me. Those buyers are concentrated than if they are buying it individually. Do you understand? Hello?
Okay, like buying inputs from you.
Yeah, buying input from me. If they have a cooperative that become concentrated, if they are not, they are not concentrated. Because concentration now is reference to bargaining leverage. Do you understand?
Yep.
Yeah, with you, sir. Go ahead.
If they are considered, are you seeing my screen? So next thing is buyer volume. Buyer switching cost. I'm going to explain all these things. Buyer information. Ability to integrate. Substitute products. Pull through. Now, these are all features of the market that tells us a lot about the market. For example, in the telecom industry, the buyers are not concentrated, so they don't have bargaining leverage. Does that make sense? The buyer volume is much. Buyer volume is much. Buyer switching costs relative to firm switching cost. Buyer switching cost is what does it cost the buyer to switch from one user to the other? In telecommunication industry, is that cost high or low?
Well, it's relative. Could be high, could be low, depending on the telecom they are switching to.
Can you give an example?
For instance, the yellow mobile, we'll say the yellow mobile you're using, they have several data bundles, and for some reason you use the same data bundle with a green telecom brand, and the green telecom brand lasts longer than the yellow, even if they are the same. So you tend to want to buy the green brand because you get more talk time or data time lasting for you, and it's cheaper because you don't have to always resubscribe your bundle. Okay. So it's relative.
Yeah, I think what I mean by buyer switching cost is the cost of moving from one buyer to the other. You know, what does it cost you to port from MTN to Glo? Is it high or low?
It's low.
Thank you. It is low.
Yes.
It is low because of the porting feature that is now available in telecommunication. Before then, it was very high because you had to go to your bank, change your number, change your SIM, change it with all your friends, true or false. But now, you don't change all that. So the switching cost is low now, but before it was very high. You will get the jack. Let's just continue. Buyer information. In an industry where there's enough information on the product and service, is the buyer's bargaining leverage high or low? Please, let's think, and if you're wrong, we'll correct you. Just answer. Anybody?
Could you take that again? I didn't get it.
It's high.
In an industry where buyers have information about the products and their pricing, is their bargaining power high or low?
It's high.
It's high.
It's high.
It's high. Thank you.
Yeah.
Now, assuming the buyer has the ability to produce that good for his or herself, is the bargaining power high or low?
High.
It's high. It's higher.
Thank you. It's high. Thank you. It's high. If they can do it themselves, the bargaining power is higher. Substitute products. If the buyer has substitute product to what you are buying, to what you are selling, is the substitute is the bargaining power high or low?
It's low. Their purchasing power is low.
No, I mean the bargaining power. So the bargaining power. Sorry, is it high or low?
It's high.
It's high. Thank you. But my point is this: in every industry, you can safely analyze the strength of the buyer using their bargaining leverage, considering that their concentration. Now, another example is to check price sensitivity. How sensitive is the buyer to the price? I'll ask this question. If your buyer has, if the price of your product, for example, is high compared to the total monthly purchase the buyer makes in a year, so in a month rather, is that buyer going to be price sensitive or not?
It's going to
So
be
take for example, yes, if it's high, a person will be price sensitive. In other words, in the telecommunication industry, is the average buyer price sensitive? Question.
I don't think so, no.
Thank you. So the buyer is not price sensitive. Does the buyer care so much about product differences?
Not really.
Yes,
To
some
what
networks are better
Not
than
really.
others. Yes, some
Okay,
networks are
but
better
to
than
what extent? To what extent does he really care about it?
Not really. I don't know.
Well,
Maybe.
Not necessarily.
But not so much exactly.
Yeah.
So when identity is not so much of a big, nobody is like, oh, I'm using MTN, I'm a push boy, you know, that kind of something. You know, nobody feels like that. Now, another factors impact on quality or performance of the buyer. To what extent does that purchase affect the buyer's quality or performance? To what extent does that affect his profit? And is there any incentive for the buyer to buy from you? All these things will tell you if the buyer's bargaining power is strong or low. So based on this, I'll ask you guys, in the telecommunication industry, does the buyer have a high bargaining power or a low bargaining power? Any answer?
I would say buyers have low bargaining power. In fact,
I'll go
0
with
to
low
9,
too.
we are their mercy.
I'll go with low. Exactly.
Okay, those that say low, let's hear you. Those that say low.
Okay.
People say low.
I said
you can raise your hand.
Low.
Okay, what of those that say high? Anybody that says high? Anyway, let's proceed. Okay, yeah, someone is typing. Okay, she just said no. Okay. Now, to me, the buyer's power. Ouch. Gentlemen, you have to give me 2 minutes. Think about that question, whether the buyer is high or low. One of my big bosses is calling me. I'll come back in 2 minutes, please. People, I'm back. Thank you. So we said it's low, right? Thank you.
Yes. Low.
Lovely. So, even though I might say it's moderate, why would I say it's moderate and not low? Is that The question is, to what extent will buyers respond if you vary your price from the normal? If MTN, for example, decides to double her airtime in terms of how many minutes they charge me, how many minutes I get per 1 naira, do you understand? If MTN becomes obviously more expensive, will I switch?
Yes, now.
Certainly, the likelihood is high.
Exactly. That tells you a measure of my bargaining power. But if NEPA, ABC, Abuja Disco increases their power, will you switch? To what margin? To what margin would you switch? Do you understand? You know, there's a margin to which if they will raise it, you could just go off grid and go and buy gen, right? You can go and buy solar. They say to her, I don't need your NEPA anymore. You know that, right? If they say it is 100,000 naira per kilowatt hour, of course you go and buy solar. But if they increase it by 20%, 30%, you may not switch because you don't have any option, right? I give you another analogy. That might look too far-fetched. Look at Toyota car. You like Toyota as a brand. Toyota might be almost 1.5 times the price of a Honda. Assuming you like Toyota, will you still buy it? Question. Hello?
Yeah, if you go for what you can afford.
Okay. Now you begin to see that.
Well,
go ahead.
I think I'll have, since it's car, I'll look at the resellable value. I'm not familiar with cars anyway, but if I can resell a Honda and it's cheap, I can buy it. But if the resellable value isn't high, I may have to go for the Toyota.
Lovely. So my point is that bargaining power of buyers varies with industry and varies with the players in that industry. It could be high or low, but you can determine that. But when you determine that, it tells you a lot about that industry. In an industry where buyers have very high power, it means that businesses within that industry cannot make abnormal profits. Does that make sense? But in an industry where buyers' powers are low, you can make abnormal profit. Does that make sense? Hello?
Yeah, yes.
So telecommunication, we are saying that buyer's power is not high. That one we are all agreeing. Abi? Is a bit low. So some can even argue that it is moderate, but it is definitely not high. Okay, it's not high. So first thing, look at the bargaining power of buyers. The next thing to look at is there substitute for that product? In telecommunication, are there substitutes?
Several.
Like what?
CDMA phones.
Okay. Which other substitutes?
In our country, it might not be, but some other place you have cellular.
Thank you very much.
So mobile
Industries are always country specific. You know, anytime we're analyzing an industry or a market, we're always analyzing it within the context of the nation. You understand? So telecommunication in Nigeria, do we have substitutes to MTN and Co?
No substitute.
No,
we don't have substitutes.
We no longer have the defunct of Nitel.
Okay, lovely. Let's look at buyer power, low. Substitutes, no. You're beginning to get the picture now, right? Now, let's look at what we call entry barriers. Entry barriers is the ease at which somebody else can enter the industry. And many factors affect it. One is economy of scale. If that industry is already, endowed with players that have large production capacity, to enter it is harder, right? If that industry already have people that have good brand identity, if that industry have people that have proprietary products, that have high capital requirements, that have regulatory requirements like licensing, that would retaliate heavily if you enter. They all constitute entry barriers. So in that industry, the threat of new entrants might be low. So I'll ask you, in telecommunication, is the entry barriers high or low?
It's very high.
Very high. Okay, hold that thought. You have a very high entry barrier. You have low power of buyers. You have no substitutes. You are beginning to get a feeling. Okay, based on just these three factors, what can you say about the telecommunication industry? Anybody?
Telecommunication, to me, telecommunication industry has made themselves a very profitable organization that they can project what they want to make in a year.
It's simply by the market structure. You get? Not about whether you have the best resources. By simply by the market structure of this particular industry, only big players will thrive. Do you understand? Purely by the market structure. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Now, we'll still get to all the rich men in Nigeria. But let's get to this now. They are very determinants. These are factors that determine the level of rivalry in that industry. One of them is industry growth. How fast is that industry growing? If they are growing very high, there'll be high level of rivalry. Fixed costs. If that could have a high level of fixed costs, it means that, just like saying, if you have to pay so much to be in a space, you have to fight for that space, right? So there will be rivalry, higher rivalry. Is there intermittent overcapacity? There will be rivalry. Brand identity, switching costs, you can read up all that. But the point I want to bring out is that if the level of rivalry in that industry is high, it would improve, it will make that industry behave in a particular way. But if it is low, it will also have some effect. But we'll get to that. Now let's look at supplier power. Those supplying you things, how strong are they? If those supplying you items are concentrated, then they are high, their bargaining power is strong. If they can do what you are doing, then the bargaining power is strong. Do you understand? If their contribution to your total procurement cost is very high, then they might be strong. So based on these 5 things, I'm going to ask you questions and I want chorus answers. Entry barriers for telecommunication, high or low?
High.
Buyer power, high or low?
Low.
Substitutes, high or low?
Low.
Supply power, high or low?
No.
Low.
Supply power.
It's
Supply
low.
power.
Level of right value, high or low?
Low.
Low.
Thank you. It's actually low, it's not high. It's low. So from this analogy, what comes to your mind looking at this industry? Can anyone tell me what you can see from looking at this industry this way?
I see a big market size.
Okay.
Because the barrier to entry is high. It means that if you are going to enter that kind of market size, you must raise a big fund for it. And once you have successfully done that, you have access to the market size. So anything that comes from it is yours, because the rivalry too is low. So I see a big market size.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Any other comments?
I was about to say from what he said, the big, like you said, the big players in it have a big market share, each of them.
Okay, good. Continue. Anybody else?
To me, it's a control sector where the only few find their feet and make it difficult for any other person to come in. And with their way of operation, because the consumer have no choice, they have to go with them.
Fantastic. Now, thank you very much.
I think, well, okay.
So go ahead, please.
I think it's doable if someone wants to play in the markets, because I remember when Airtel, I remember the time Airtel came on board, they used Two-Face and all that. It was a lot of us ported from Glo to Airtel. I was one of them. And it was now as if the main competition was between MTN and Airtel, even though people are now switching back to MTN because of the Airtel has really dropped in value. But yes, I think it's doable. It's a tough market. Yeah, the market shares, like you said, each person has a large market share, but yes, it's a market that can be penetrated. Like the first speaker said, if you have the funds and if knowledge about the industry is well applied, yes, it's doable if you want to get into that market. Airtel did it. I think anybody that has something better to offer can also do it. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Comments? Anybody else?
Like the business, like that sector, it is not that it's not doable, like we are saying, but you must be able to raise a very huge amount of money. Even these people, the people who are in the market, who are in the control already, will frustrate you to the extent that if you want to get a loan from the bank, they will go behind you. You know, they do everything to make the market favorable to themselves. It's not that it's not doable, it's doable. Because I see, Vodacom is in Ghana, but it's not in Nigeria. It's not that they don't have power to be here, but they try to come. But when they look at the logistics and what's involved, I think they stay there. Though many other companies are planning to come. Even the Arabs, they came, they missed. They did not get it because of the way the market is being controlled. Because we are talking about Nigeria as a case study. Yeah. So even the Arab with their money, they still did not get it. Edi Salad, right? Edi Salad. Yeah. Where are they today? They are not. So the market is being controlled by a few, and you may break in, but it will take a very, very tough time. But as a businessman, as a somebody that is just coming up, you may not likely want to compete with the mogul.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lekon. So, okay, go ahead. Yeah, please go ahead, please.
I think the competitive advantage is really there, like us, like my other colleagues have been saying, that you need to really feature. But there's something striking from what you said. It's for telecom corporations or company. It really needs to be context considered. I have a friend who works with Glow, and Glow has been in Ghana for over a decade plus. But all of a sudden, she says she's coming back home, and that Glow has ceded to one local telecom company called Tugo or Tego or something. Why? Not that they were not working in Ghana, but the locals or the people there, for some reason, preferred theirs, and I think they were giving the services that people needed. Maybe they were saying things in Twi that Glow was not saying. I don't know, but as we speak, they are packing up to leave Ghana. So you have to be in a space where you are not, which is not yours. You have to put in so much.
Exactly. Thank you so much. One of the key points, like you have all noted, is that the structure of the market, to a large extent, could and would determine your decision making. So even though Glow had the best competitive resources, right, they still couldn't beat the market because of certain factors that she just mentioned. Those factors are more or less industry structural features. One of them is brand identity. In this particular case, you are referring to brand identity. In other words, the Ghana brand versus the Glow brand maybe might have been the missing link, right? I mean, versus the Nigerian brand, they are not seen as a Ghanaian brand, and that affected them, which is a huge factor. So the point here is that understanding the market structure tells you a lot. For example, it tells you that for the telecommunication industry, you must play big. And you must play big. And if you play big, there's a lot to benefit. So your strategy must be big. No matter the amount of intellectual capacity you have, human resource, if you're not playing big, you're going to be dead in this industry. True or false? True.
True.
Now, let's use another industry for context. We'll use 3. Can someone give another industry? Another industry.
Let's use raw material.
Raw material, is there an industry?
Like cement and all the stuff, you know?
No, be specific. Be specific. Are you saying cement? Are you saying, which one are you saying?
Have we used the textile industry?
Cement or textile industry? Anyone, the two. Anyone, the two.
Okay.
Why not water company?
Okay. Sorry, I didn't hear what last person. What did you say?
Water company, like bottled water company.
Okay, very good, very good.
Water?
Yes, sir.
Bottled water company.
Okay, bottled water like ever now, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, lovely. Thank you. Let me start with entry barriers. How is the entry barrier like? High or low?
Low.
It's
low.
Okay.
It's low. It's low.
Okay, low. Power. Low or high?
Low.
Firepower is high. Is high. Firepower is high.
It's high actually.
Firepower is very high. Substitutes.
It's
very high.
Very high. Very, very high.
Thank you. What is the degree of rivalry?
High.
195.
What is the supply power?
Okay.
Supply power, high or low?
Very high. So you're
high.
No, why do you say that it's very high? Who is the supplier?
Supply power is low because you have so many competitors against. if you don't do well,
Yes.
they will see.
No, the supply power, those are supplying like equipment and stuff like that. In this case, they're actually low because we don't know them and they're not trying to compete with you, right? So,
Yes.
but barrier to entry is low, rivalry is high, buyer power is strong, subsidies is plenty. What does that tell you? What's the inference for this industry?
It shows that this kind of industry, the market share is already divided, and the market size is, even though big, but it's already divided because you have plenty rivalries there. That if you are going to survive in this kind of market setting, you must play a game of competitiveness in terms of innovation to survive in this kind of market.
Yeah. Somebody else.
And
what does this tell you?
Another thing again, they must, for them to survive, they must have a very strong marketing strategies to be able to stand the competition.
To somebody else.
To survive in that kind of industry, because there's a case study even around me here. A particular man started this pure water company, hoping to upgrade to bottle company. Now the company is put up because people are complaining about his water. You understand? So if you have to go into that company, you supposed to go and understudy maybe what was it called? The rivalry company that may rival you because it's about location and the area where you are going to cover. You know, you have a targeted area, study the area, know your competitor in that area, then you do your feasibility study or how to get better. I think that's it. Because if not, you may come in, everything will be high, but soon the thing will go down, and those people will go back to their original, the one they are taking before.
Anybody else? Any other comments?
I would like to add to what Mr. Lekonla said. Like,
Go ahead.
For you to survive in this kind of market, you must do your feasibility studies very well. I have two cases here. Like the case of, there's a Chinese company in my area. I'm sure we know Dudu Water. Then we have Pop Cola. Pop Cola is from Kano, and Dudu is from our local area. So the marketers of the two companies are coming in different ways. For Pop Cola, they came in form of the quality of the materials they used. That most of the bottled waters that we have, once you open them, the quality of the material is of a low resolution. So it's once you open them, it will splash on you. That the Pop Cola is very strong. Once you open it, it's very thick and the likes of that. So, but on the other hand, Dudu came in form of pricing. Because when I buy Dudu dispenser water, it's very cheap. It's just 500 naira compared to other companies that is like 800 naira, some 900, some 1,000. So for us to survive in this kind of environment, you must do your visibility studies very well.
Yeah.
The Chinese company I'm talking about here, they just situated themselves in Karo, and they are producing in mass for the location there, and people are rushing their water. Anytime I go to the factory, I'll be like, wow, these people, they got us in terms of pricing. So you have to do your visibility studies very well to survive in this kind of environment, whether it is pricing, innovation, quality, to gain an advantage over your competitors.
Thank you very much. What I'll add to that. Okay. So you give us the last word, and I can continue.
Okay. As someone who has, managed his supermarket, there is something I noticed when it comes to bottled water. I think it's regional. It also has to do with the mindset of the people there, you'd be surprised the connection between bottled water and the mindset. Like if you check the rivalry determinants, but from what is on the screen, you will see brand identity. I notice that sometimes people buy bottled water because of the identity attached to it. They just come by, hold it, because there is this Nigerian thing that if you're drinking water, bottled water, it has this thing of rich, like wealth. So I don't know if I'm the only one that has noticed it, but it's there. You understand? And there is this bottled company water opposite our where we live on the other side of the express. The water is the only water in the whole east that I've seen that has ozone. By quality, it is much, much better. But I noticed that the bottled water itself is not attractive to hold. I don't know why they use green. Is somehow we told the man that produces it is not attractive, the green color and everything. So people prefer to buy the one that looks attractive, despite the fact that sometimes it has taste. Like that one, we can sell like up to 50 packs in a few days. People buy it. But that one that is better, you have to literally beg them to buy it. It doesn't look attractive. And I think it also has to do with that if you have to sell bottled water, you have to sell it in a way that it will look attractive. Because whoever is going to spend money to buy bottled water, when there are alternatives like pure water, they have to get value for their money to look good. And another thing is the environment too. When I asked the people around, why are you not buying this water that is clearly better than this one? They said this man is from our place. So they prefer to buy from the man, Jamok, that's the name of the company that is from their place. They preferred to buy the water of the man they know is from their place than the man on the other side that even used ozone in his water to make it better simply because he's not from here. So these are the things you consider too. Is Nigeria, and whether you like it or not, these things play a factor. They factor in it. So you have to consider these things. If you're going to open a bottled water company in an area, you have to check what kind of people are here. Will they think like that if they're going to buy from you? Will it be a waste of investment do they have like a son of the soil, they're drinking his water simply because he's from there? Those are the things you have to, check before you make such investments in it.
Okay,
thank you.
Because of our time, thank you very much, Chiso. Because of our time, let me bring out part of what I wanted to see from that analysis is that, yes, there's going to be a bloody competition in this industry. However, you can increase the barrier to the entry, which is something I was going to ask earlier. Industry structures, are they cast in stone or can they be modified by people? Can I increase the barrier to entry in an industry? Yes. One, I can increase it by economy of scale. By mere having a large production volume, I can become more competitive by economy of scale. That is why the likes of Nestle and Co would have compete in a new brand in any space they want to operate in, purely by economy of scale. So most of these brands you have mentioned now, for example, the ones in the Southeast, maybe it's because there's no Nestle facility there yet. Do you understand? One of our resource persons used to work as a manager in a pure water factory in Abuja. I was able to review his MBA thesis, and the MBA thesis, he was analyzing the competitiveness of that bottled water company using these Potter's 5 forces and the resource-based view. And his conclusion is that we cannot compete if we don't increase the economy of scale, if we don't increase the volume of our production, simply because firepower is strong, there is plenty substitutes, switching cost is zero because people know about the price of the products. So what begins to play is things like brand identity and brand loyalty. And those that have a bigger brand will win the day. You understand? So even though it's a perfect competition market where there's free flow and free entry, economy of scale becomes massive. Do you get that? Hello?
No. Yes, sir. We get it, sir.
So let's take one more industry. So for all those people that you are seeing having pure water today, if they don't become big tomorrow, they will not exist in the next 5 years or even 10 years. If they don't become big enough to sell in 5 states or 6 states, if Nestle or Eva enters their space, they are dead. Because Nestle can come and give you water for 6 months on credit. And the person cannot afford to give you that on credit. Mr. Steven, want to say something?
Yes, sir. So I just want to ask a question, sir.
Yes.
The barrier to entry can it come in form of monopoly?
Well, monopoly is usually based on license. It's hard. Well, monopoly can also occur by just competing everybody else. Like Microsoft. When Microsoft came about, how did they achieve the economy of scale? Any idea? Can anybody remember how Microsoft achieved the economy of scale?
They signed the license with major manufacturers.
IBM. They license to IBM and gave IBM and retained the right to give to other people. Do you understand? So IBM was printing, having all the laptops with Microsoft. But more importantly, Microsoft was now giving it almost free to other manufacturers. So over time, by pure economy of scale, they became the market leaders and they increased the barrier to entry for everybody else. So nothing stops you from doing your own operating system. But why would I use it? And they designed their software in a way that Microsoft Word will not work on your Mac. You understand? So over time, we have to choose one winner. Google did the same thing with Android. Google basically copied what Microsoft did with laptops and did it with Android phones. By that play, they have increased the barrier to entry. By increasing the barrier to entry through economy of scale, that made it almost impossible for people to enter that market. My point, before they did that, they looked at this Porter's 5 forces and said, if we increase the barrier to entry, we'll win this market. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
It can become an intentional game. Give me the list of the top vicious people in Nigeria that you know. Call their names for me. Or even vicious people in the world that you know. Call their names. Top one.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. Bezos.
Bill Gates.
Bill Gates.
Sir David Green. I'm not sure. Okay.
Who else?
Fernando Arnold.
Sergio Green.
So which industry are these guys operating in? Elon Musk.
The last one.
Elon Musk is space exploration and mobility.
What's the barrier to entry in that industry? High or low?
It's very high.
Bezos, which industry?
Amazon.
What's the barrier to entry in that industry?
Very high.
Bill Gates, come.
Proprietary software.
What about to
And
entry?
farmer.
Very high.
So you begin to get the point, right?
Yes.
The point is that to make abnormal profits, your goal is not to compete. Your goal is to create a system where competing with you, the person has to think about it critically before they compete. You understand? So part of that tool is, we wrote it here, expected retaliation. If you know that I'm going to retaliate, you think critically before you come at me. So imagine if you start something that will compete with Coca-Cola, they will come for you. That is the truth. Do you know Chivita?
So,
Yes. Yes, sir.
You know it has been bought by Coca-Cola.
sir?
Yes, yes.
Coca-Cola has bought Chivita a long time ago.
Yes, they bought them over.
So if they cannot fight it, they will buy you.
The same with Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
Monopoly is the name of the game. So in as much as you want to compete, maximum profit is made in an industry where you are not competing. So competitiveness is more about creating systems whereby the chances of going for you is higher. And this happens both at a firm level and at a national level. So, but the decision, how you go about the plan, depends on your understanding of that industry. So we've done spec, we've done water. Give me one more. The Lekon, want to say something?
I want to get what of automobile?
Okay, automobile, good one. Buyers, are we strong or weak?
They are strong.
We are strong. Suppliers, are they strong or weak?
They are weak.
They are
weak.
They are strong.
Actually. No, they are weak.
They are weak.
They are not strong. They are weak. I mean, people that supply parts to car manufacturers, they are weak. They are weak in the sense that if Toyota doesn't buy from you, you can't say to Honda. Do you understand? Some of those parts are so customized that you cannot sell to another person. That makes sense, right? And the brand power of the person you are selling to is so strong that you cannot compete with him. Hello?
Aye.
Okay. So suppliers are weak. Entry barriers, are they high or low?
High.
Aye.
Hi.
Very high.
What are substitutes? Are there substitutes?
It's low.
The substitute is low.
Low.
Okay. What are threat of new entrants, high or low?
Is low.
It's threat of entrance.
Yes.
Very high.
Threats, I
It's very low.
think is low. I think it's very low. Yeah.
So what is the degree of rivalry?
It's low.
I think it's high.
At their level is high.
It's high.
At their level.
It's high.
It's high.
So you have strong buyers, weak suppliers, high entry barriers, high level of competition. What does that tell you about that industry? It tells you that there's a high degree of competition, right?
All right, sir.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
But it tells you that the only way you can thrive in this industry is either you have economy of scale or you differentiate. You brand yourself so much that people will buy you even when they're expensive. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you are using non-financial factors because the economy of scale is that you are using financial factors to compete and brand. Coca-Cola used economy of scale, brand and mass. You understand? So everybody knows Coca-Cola. Advertisement, branding. So you begin to see the Elon Musk strategy. That in a market where there's too much competition, entry barrier is high, meaning that those who are operating in the industry are doing relatively well, because there's not everybody coming in. But competition is still strong. How best can I become the best? Why not come up with a novel product that creates the kind of cult following that is necessary, brand myself as the next genius of the world, and bam, I'm a billionaire. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So
Yes, sir.
understanding the market will determine the position you play in that market. And it's very, very important that you understand it. It means that you must be able to raise the money to even enter the market to begin with. You must raise that money. You must be able to brand appropriately. I have to invest in branding. So understanding the markets is perhaps one of the most important things to do in becoming competitive. So the summary for us in this lecture is as follows. One, sorry, let me stop sharing. I'm coming. Okay. Let me summarize this session. Is this the summary for us? All this is just we have discussed all this. Is that Michael Porter, who shared this concept with us, said that there's only 3 ways to succeed in an industry. Only 3, according to Michael Porter, which is also true. 1, go for overall cost leadership by economy of scale. In other words, be the cost leader by economy of scale. Or number 2, differentiate yourself. Or number 3, pick a niche and differentiate by cost or differentiate by quality. So in the car industry, you have everybody, but you have the Jaguar, you have the Lamborghinis of this world, right?
Yes, sir.
They are doing well. You have the Toyota cost leadership. You have the BMW differentiation and the Teslas. Even though Tesla is selling, Toyota sells maybe 10 times. Let me even check. Total car sales 2020. Can someone help me check Tesla total car sales 2020? Why I check Toyota? Tesla total car sales 2021. Let me check Toyota. Okay. In 2021, Toyota sold 239,733 units of cars. Toyota. 239,723 units of cars. That's Toyota.
Okay. In 2021, Tesla produced 930,422 and delivered 936,222. According to this source, it's a new record.
Yeah, wow. That's what I think.
Is it total cars sold for that year?
Surprisingly,
yes.
That is huge.
I didn't expect that.
Wow. 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 Let's check Toyota again. I'm doubting that Toyota record. I'm trying to make a case, but I think that case is not working.
Sir, the issue is this: most of the Toyota in Nigeria are not brand new.
No, we're checking total record, though, not domestic. We're checking total sales.
Okay,
the world sales. You understand? I don't think that record, that total Toyota is correct.
Right.
Someone gave Toyota sales record, worldwide sales, 2021. I think Toyota sold, I'm seeing here, it's about 9 million. Well, I want to be sure. I want to get. Has anybody seen that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Toyota's about 9 million.
This one is even saying 10 point something million. But
okay. Yes, 10.49, right?
Mm.
Good. Yeah, Toyota sold 10.49. I think about 10.49 million. So Toyota sold about 10 times more cars than Tesla. Right?
Yes. Yes.
For Tesla's valuation, can someone check Tesla valuation 2022? Tesla valuation 2022.
Okay.
And someone else to check Toyota's valuation 2022.
Tesla's valuation 2022. $1.1 trillion.
$1.1 trillion. Okay.
Where is it?
What of Toyota? What of Toyota?
Okay.
Even though some people said as for June, Tesla is about 763 billion, but let's say 763 billion to 1 billion. What of Toyota?
Seen 100. Wait.
The Toyota is about 215 billion.
219.19 billion. 219.19 billion.
So guys, you get the check now, right?
Yeah.
So even though Toyota sold 10 times the volume of cars that Tesla sold, Tesla is valued almost 3 times or 4 times the value of Toyota. So what does that tell you? That sometimes being the overall cost leader and being the biggest seller in the market is not what matters, right? Yeah. So you can choose to be a cost leader, you can choose to be a product service differentiator, It might be a niche focus. Remember when Apple started? Apple was not the biggest seller in volume, but Apple was the biggest brand in terms of pricing. And Apple is the market leader today, right?
Yes.
And Nokia was overall cost leader at the time, but where is Nokia today? So Porter was saying that you have to be an overall cost leader, be a differentiator by branding, or you just pick a service a niche. Porter argues that there are no middle grounds. You cannot be a cost leader and be the best beautiful brand. You have to choose one. You have to make a choice eventually. So our own recommendation in this class is this. Market-based view is analysis at an industry level. Resource-based view analysis at a firm level. The market-based view is more about either you are going by cost or you are going by differentiation. The resource-based view is about using your core competencies. And market-based view is about your position in the market. Resource-based view is about your internal resources. Market-based view is usually short run in mind, short run. Resource-based view is about long run. However, what use is the long run if you are dead on the short run, right? Market-based view is that is dynamic, that the market is always changing. But market-based view basically says that whatever resource you think you have, I can buy it. You know, I can hire that same resource. You know, so let's focus on the market. It assumes that that factors of production are highly mobile, but resource-based view assumes that factors of production are not immobile; they are static. So our recommendation is this: both views have their strengths and weaknesses. Abi? The key is in possessing the right competence for maximizing a market position. That's our summary. Have the right competence for maximizing the position you have taken. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Have the right competence. In other words, if you choose to be a differentiator what's that? Tesla, have the right competence for that. If you want to be economy of scale, have the right competence. So choose where you want to be in that market and have the right competence for that location that you want to be. You want to be the biggest pharmacy by size, go for it. Of course, raise the money. If you want to be the biggest pharmacy by branding, go for it. Have the money. You know, either way, there are trade-offs for each of those positions. Mr. Aduna, do you want to say something? Mr. Steve, you want to say something? And then we can round up.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Go ahead, please.
Sir, is there any relation between market size and population size? Because I was thinking while we were analyzing the issue of Tesla and Toyota. For example, we say Nigeria has a population-wise, we are much. Does it automatically mean that our market size is big? Because I had a CEO saying that Africa, the market size is small in terms of his own products. And I was not thinking, but our numbers are much. It should automatically mean that the market size should be big. So, sir, is there any relationship between market size and population size?
Okay, let me define market. Market, you say market is mad. Market is people that have the money, authority, and desire to buy your product. MAD, mad. Okay. So, do you like to have a jet?
If I would like to have a jet.
A private jet.
Yeah.
Yes, I would love to, sir.
Yeah. That means you have desire. You have legal authority to buy it. But has anybody come to you one day and said, now they come and buy jet from us?
No,
Why?
because I don't have the money.
You're not the market. So you don't have the money authority and desire to buy a jet. So you're not the market for jets. You might be a market for Corolla, Camry, but not for a jet. So the market is the number of people that have the money, authority, and desire to buy my products, multiplied by the price of my product. That is the market.
That's the population size.
The number of people that have the money, authority, and desire to buy my product. So, for example, assuming US, okay, take for example now, US has 250 million people, right?
Yeah.
Nigeria has 230 million people, right?
Roughly.
The ratio of our population to US is 1.5. True or false?
True.
Is the ratio of the market for Apple 1.5 in between US and Nigeria? Is it the same ratio?
No.
Why?
Unequal earning.
Unequal
earning.
Money, authority,
desire.
So, Nnamdi, I would answer the question back to you. Is the market equal to the population?
No, sir.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily the population size.
Yeah, not necessarily the population. Even the population size can determine it, Abi. So it's about the product.
Yes.
So if the product is a product that the market, the pricing, for example, if you are selling Pyro now, the cheapest Pyro on earth, you can see that the market will be the same, Abi. If you are selling maybe what else now? Toothpick. You say the market could be the same as population, right? If you are, even that will be influenced by cultural factors. So the market cannot be said to be the same with population. It depends on this factor of money, authority, and desire. Mr. Stephen.
So, in essence, market is like the specific population that will actually. Okay.
So whenever you are doing analysis, you're trying to find out what is the specific population of people in this country that will have the money, authority, and desire to buy this product. Yes.
Thank you very much, sir.
You have to find that. Once you find that population, multiply it by the value of that product, you have the market.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
That's the problem the textile industry has.
Sorry?
No, I was just remembering something. What did the assignment you gave us?
Okay, you're welcome. In fact, that's something we'll discuss it tomorrow. We'll begin by 4. Mustafa will join by 5 o'clock, but I felt I've given you guys a background that can help you do the assignment tomorrow.
Okay.
Any question before we call it a night? Gladys, any question? We don't be hearing from you for a while now. Richard, any comments?
No comment so far, no comments.
Lekon?
Yeah, I just want to say it has been a very splendid evening, and like the question Mr. Stephen asked, like the population to market value, to the market, you know, that's why most of our businessmen are making mistakes. They look at the number, thinking it's everybody that will purchase, that will come and patronize it. I will even be in need of it, but I may not have desire for that your product.
Yes.
So because there is substitute, I can go for any brand. Like Samsung, what was it called? Techno, those kind of phone. I may even have money for iPhone, but I may decide to go and buy it at 310. That is market. So we go help us. We get there.
Thank you. You're welcome. So you guys, you are the future managers. You are going to sit down, make this analysis. Then that's making informed decisions. You know, so even when you are praying aright. So when you say, God, show me the market I should go into, you understand what you are praying. Do you understand? So when God tells you do this, you have a framework for analyzing what He's telling you. Do you understand? God might show you a market that you may not have noticed. But if you use this framework to analyze it, you're like, oh, it's a good market. God can tell you, go into the ICT space. In your mind, you'll be like, how can I get there? But with this framework, you're going to see that, oh, there is butter, there's olive, there is gold in that space. You get? You're like, okay, that means I need someone that has $10 billion. Do you understand? Because you can now see that space. You will find out that most of what God is telling you is not against logic. It's just that you don't have the logic for it at that particular time. But as your eyes begin to widen, as you begin to learn more, you will see that the speakings of God are very, very intellectual. They are very, very logical, very, very knowledgeable. You know, it's just that maybe your current wisdom is not up to that level. So when you hear the voice of God directing you at the path you must go at, ask yourself, are you missing something that you should know, and engage that field, study that enterprise, study that area of calling. Over time, you will see the wisdom. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. We are very grateful.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. God bless you. See you guys tomorrow.
Yes,
All right.
Good night.